two professors, both Professor Emeritus. Melody Gachet is one. I took watercolor with Melody. I did a piece, she said, "Oh, it's so obsessive." Oh, I love it. So I tend to get obsessive, because if one's good, then 20 is better. Perhaps deceased Professor Emeritus Mark Zucker, noted art historian, his class on Dutch and Netherlandish painting was just steeped with symbology. And it made such an impression on me that I could see that class working inside of me and in turn spewing out into my pieces. So for that reason, it is about them. And I can sit back and let them do the work for me. For simplicity and ease of viewing, I couldn't put the statements quite long, and I really thank those of you who have spent the time to read and listen to the statement, what I'm trying to say. But since the show is 3 years in the making, for some reason I kept finding, as you know, I've got all these antique objects. So it takes some time to rifle through and find these pieces. And they're antiques, which means the viewer not only is looking at a piece of artwork, they're looking at a collector's item because it's an antique object. I kept finding the line. So when that happens to me, I act upon it. I said, the line's telling me something. So I looked up the line, the meaning of the line. It became my totem animal. The line is the representative of the subconscious. It rules over, he rules over the subconscious, and that is what I work on. I draw from my intuition, the unconscious. Therefore, you see the lion hiding in these pieces. He's lurking in where it's appropriate. Now, I wouldn't just stick a line in a piece that it would look out of place, but he is my totem animal. Another animal, the other animals that govern this show are, 2013 was a Chinese symbol of the snake, and the snake is witty, has wisdom. So, but you know, the shadow side of the snake is it can be very, you know, sneaky and unreliable, and you know, it's gotten a bad rap. So the pieces that have the snakes in them are 2013 pieces. So you can say, I see, that's, you know, sort of links those pieces together. However, in the swamp piece over here, there are snakes in there, but it was completed in 2015 because we have those little black sheep sitting upon one of the rocks to keep it with 2015 pieces. Does it make sense a little bit now as you see those animals, that it links them together? So they're important to me symbolism, as well as it keeps them chronologically divided. So therefore I dropped from 2013 to 2014, we're moving into that year of the horse. I want to tell you the joy I experienced while working on these pieces. They seemed alive. They had an energy and a personality already. They seemed to have grouped together amicably. I intervened every now and then. No one fought. I didn't have any skirmishes or any casualties during the show. It was a lot of fun, and you can see in some of the pieces where I have a surplus of a particular item, like the darts. I happened to come across a whole bunch of darts. Therefore, you see darts in my work, and I have more darts stored away for future projects, which you'll be seeing darts in the future. But I'll see a form and I just fall in love with it. For example, this is a non-objective piece. And I loved the silver base because the way it pierces the air and air goes through it, and you don't know what it is, so therefore the artist has a lot of freedom to make it into something else. And for about a year and a half, it sat on a pedestal in my studio. And I asked different people, what should I put on it? It needs something on the top. I had my 2 granddaughters come in. We tried everything. I take photos of things. And nothing seemed to work. And one day, the bronze piece seemed to fit pretty well. And then these are Tiller's old, antique, just a simple, I have a whole bunch of them, but these are just part of the storage that I have of them. And these begged for hanging chains because they have holes in them, so it's an old lamp part. That's what I think it is. So it came together just beautifully. I think I enjoyed making it. And everything else, of course, is realistic. The environment in which I place them might not be realistic, but the pieces themselves are. As I've said, nothing is younger than older than 1950. Everything is not just vintage, but antique. When people say vintage, you know, vintage could be 20 years ago. That's not old enough for me. There are some exceptions to that, but very rarely do I make an exception. I like to keep the integrity of the piece. If I say it's antique, I want to keep that integrity. I've had queries, and some of you may have the same queries. Do you find the stuff first? Or do you have an idea and then you have to go hunt for the ideas? Well, it's both. I love looking for objects. It's become an obsession now. So I was obsessive. So I amass a lot of a collection of things. So I've got my ready-mades already there. And perhaps I'll get an idea and then I have to search for objects to translate them into that idea. Francis?
Yeah, do you think the symbolism is important for the viewer to understand, or the symbolism is what gets you going?
Thank you. I don't think it's necessary that the viewer have any idea of symbolism. I just think that they like it because it's pleasing, or it evokes some response deep within them. And that response is whatever you want it to be. That's what's good about art. Art's not my way. It's the way you see it, because we're all different. We bring different experiences into our viewing. Yes, Rachel.
When you're collecting these objects, how much of it is more like intention, like you see an object and you know the purpose of it immediately, and how, like, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, how do you weed through stuff that you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, I don't know if I'll ever use it, this is awesome, I love this.
I know it when I see it, and I'll say, when I saw this, I said I have to have it. I can do something with it. I just see it, it's like falling in love. That's it. I need that. I need it in my life because I can use it. I don't get anything that doesn't have possibilities.
Do you have a particular one that's close to your heart, or I don't want to say favorite, but one that you're, you know, if you wanted it on your mantle or in your home?
Well, you know, I'll tell you, this one right here, I just love this woman's expression. It's like, look, that halo is so heavy, and I'm getting so tired of being this goody-goody that it's time I take this thing off. Because you know people who walk around and they're so good, and they just know what you ought to do if you want to get to heaven. You know, live like me. I'm a great example of, well, you know, she said, not for me anymore, can't do it, can't do it. So I like her expression. I like this because it doesn't have any connotation necessarily to an object, I mean, to something real. And when I painted, I was an abstract painter. I'm really more abstract, bordering on non-objective, meaning there is no semblance of recognizable subject matter. And it wasn't because I couldn't draw, because I have to show people my realistic drawings that, yes, I have credit. It's like we have to prove we're credible as an artist, and sometimes non-objective and abstract just doesn't get it for some people, and I understand that. I sometimes feel I'm being put on by other artists when they try to push something on me that I don't think is real art, you know? I'm not being, there's no one in this room that fits that category. And none of my friends that fit that category. Now, this one was, to me, most difficult because of the nature of the material. The head is lucite, so everything I try to glue on it would slip off. So I'd have to, you know, turn the head a certain way and glue something and run away and work on something else and then run back and see if it was dry so I could move it and move, you know, glue something else on it. So it was very tedious but fun. And if you will notice, there are 16 Indians and 2 cowboys. And that's the title, you know, Indians 16, Cowboys 2. So I hold myself accountable. I try not to put anything over on the viewer because I don't want anyone to do that to me. And my pieces are honest and straightforward. And like I said, I heard during the opening beautiful comments, very insightful comments about Rumpelstiltskin, about his foot was on the snake. And there's a symbolism in another statue where a woman has her foot on a serpent's head. If anyone is familiar with Catholicism and Mary, the mother of Jesus, she's crushing the serpent with her foot. So I wasn't aware of that when I did it. That's why I love to hear what the viewers have to say. Without you, the creative cycle would not be complete. You know that? We have the artist who makes the piece, shows the piece, and the viewer accepts it or rejects it, but still that circle has been completed. And that's a necessary part of art.
Linda, why are pieces that are only 20 years old not old enough?
Because my standards say I want to use antique objects that are priceless, rare, one of a kind, not garage sale stuff, not flea market things, but things that are of a greater price. Because I used to find things on the street, you know, but I upped my ante. And therefore, I've invested more in your pieces when they're more costly.
One last one.
Yes.
That was the last one.
No, great.
I'm doing the show at the same time as you. Were you conscious of how beautiful the shadows on the wall are as artists?
Yeah.
I love sculpture for that reason. The way they reflect, yeah, the shadows, I love the shadows. In anybody's sculpture, I do. Thank you.